What's up everyone, King Crab's back again today, and it's with a heavy heart I tell you that I am playing Stall Water. So this is, it's definitely a very viable way to play Water. It might not be the most fun to play, it might not be the most fun to play against, but it can be entertaining to watch, and it's a really strong way to play Water. So normally I play offensive rain teams because I think offensive rain is one of the funnest ways to play the game. But I decided for the first time, this is my third Mono Water video, and I wanted to do something a bit different that wasn't just offensive rain again. So here we are with like a defensive kind of stally water, and hopefully we get some good games today. I want to show off maybe some wins and some losses, because a lot of people think that stall water is pretty broken, but I really do think it's a very beatable type. Hopefully, I said, if we get some losses today, it shows that, you know, teams can actually beat this kind of team. So with that, let's jump right into the team. So first up, we have Manaphy, and Manaphy is going to be probably the least defensive Pokemon on my team. It's kind of going to be the offensive anchor on the team, so the rest of the team is going to try and whittle my opponent down over time, and then Manaphy can potentially come in and sweep. So moveset wise, we have Rain Dance because we don't actually have any auto rain setters. The team, it doesn't need rain too badly, but rain is always still nice on a water team regardless. It pairs nicely with hydration, especially against things that maybe want a T-Wave or Toxic my Manaphy. I can just cure them off with Rain Dance. Next we have Surf because it's just a pretty reliable, accurate, strong water move. It's stronger than Scald, and I have plenty of Scald users, so I just value the extra bit of power that Surf provides, and I don't like the unreliability of Hydro Pump. Ice Beam is really good for dragons and grass types, which are two types that give my team a lot of trouble, so hopefully Ice Beam can deal with those quite nicely. Actually, Flying types too can give my team trouble because we do rely quite heavily on things like Toxic Spikes. And next up, Tail Glow, which is a pretty stupid move. It raises user special attack by 3 stages, so after 2 Tail Glows, this thing has plus 6 special attack, and especially in Rain Dance, Surf is going to do some serious damage. So, stat-wise, we have max special attack and max speed timid nature. It is my fastest Pokemon on the team, which isn't saying much because this isn't that fast. Though it's going to be enough to outspeed some choice scarfers, and let me explain why. With Water EMZ, Rain Dance increases my speed a stage, as well as producing rain, which is really good because then suddenly we have a much more powerful Surf. We have Hydration activated to stop things like T-Wave and Toxic, as well as increasing my speed to give it essentially choice scarf levels of speed. And after some Tail Glows, this thing hits really hard in the rain, so definitely a very important offensive anchor. Next up, to no one's surprise, we have Toxapex. So Toxapex is going to be the first on my regen core between Pex and Slowking. I decided to go for a physically defensive Pex. I experimented a lot with a specially defensive Pex, but I found things like Rillaboom and Tapu Bulu just absolutely annihilated my team, so I had no way around them, so I had to go physically defensive, and it still works quite nicely. With Black Sludge and Regenerator, this thing gets so much recovery very fast, making it quite hard to break for a lot of physically offensive threats. Scald can also increase its level of physical bulk because potentially I can burn my opponent, which halves their damage of their physical moves, which is really good for Pex to live even more. We have Knockoff. Knockoff definitely isn't as good in the NatDex as it was in Generation 8 because of Mega Crystals and Z Crystals are back, so Knockoff is slightly worse but always still a nice attack to have too. Knock off things like Leftovers, which my team doesn't really like because I want to slowly whittle my opponents down, and if I can knock their Leftovers, they are more susceptible to my Poison Chip or my Skull Chip, for example. We have Recover. That's not much to explain here. Recover is super good, just stall in front of opponents to get half my HP back. It again pairs nicely with Black Sludge and Regenerator. This thing can gain so much HP so fast. And finally we have Toxic Spikes, which is unfortunately the only entry hazards on my team. Entry hazards are a bit of trouble for my team, be it Spikes or Stealth Rocks. I don't particularly like them. Though with Toxic Spikes, hopefully I can force my opponent to try and defog them away, which can also defog away their Stealth Rocks, which is pretty good for me. Next up we have Slowking, and Slowking is the second member of my regen core. This is going to be the specially defensive side of the regen core, so the physically defensive Pex and especially defensive Slowking. They can complement each other nicely enough. For example, Pex can not eat psychic moves while Slowking can, and Pex can eat moves such as like Bug, for example, like U-turn spam, which Slowking wouldn't like. Toxapex can eat nicely enough, so in some ways these two complement each other quite nicely. So Assault Vest, especially defense of Slowking, reaches a really respectable level of special defense. I think it's 525 off the top of my head, which is really good. So that allows you to easily eat so many special attacks thrown its way. So between that and Pex, as I said, we can regen quite a lot between these two. Moveset wise, we have Future Sight, which is a really good move because this whole team wants to try and pressure my opponent out with certain defensive threats. And Future Sight can also prevent them from swapping into threats I don't want them to go into. For example, maybe they have a poison type that could eat my toxic spikes, but the Future Sight comes out this turn, they're potentially throwing that opponent to a Future Sight, so this really lets me control the battlefield quite nicely. We have Fire Blast essentially only for Ferrothorn, because Ferrothorn is a big threat to the team. We have no other fire moves, and honestly not much other ways of breaking through a lot of steel types, so Fire Blast is quite important. I'm experimenting with Foul Play. It's a different move on Slowking, but I figured it's so specially defensive, it's going to force in some physically offensive threats, and potentially even ones that will get cheeky enough to Dragon Dance or Sword Dance in Slowking's face, and Foul Play can put a heavy dent in them before I swap out to something like Toxapex or Quagsire to eat defensive hits. And finally, Psyshock for that immediate bit of damage, because Foul Play is not the most reliable and Fire Blast isn't stab. Psyshock is just generally good to hit Pokemon immediately in front of me. And stat-wise, I don't think I went over this yet, but max special defense, max HP, just to absolutely maximize how much special attacks Slowking can eat. Next up we have Quagsire, and Quagsire is really, really fun. With Unaware and Rocky Helmet, this thing can really punish physical attackers, especially multi-hit Pokemon, for example, Cincino, any dual wing beaters, Caesar trying to spam U-turn. Quagsire can really, really punish them. So with max HP and max defense, it doesn't have the best defensive spread off the bat. I mean, its HP is pretty good, nothing to write home about, and its defense isn't amazing. Special defense is kind of poor, but where this thing really shines as a defensive threat is its ability Unaware. So Unaware allows us to ignore opponent's stat change. This is really good for beast boosting Buzzwole, for example, maybe Dragon Dance, Dragonite, Moxie, Salamence, all these kind of things. Quagsire does not care. It completely ignores the stat boosts, which is really, really good, and then they take Rocky Helmet Chip anytime they want to attack me physically. So this thing is quite a good punishing for things like U-turn or Volt Switch Spam. Because it's ground type and it's also immune to electric, so it's really good for punishing momentum, which my team doesn't want my opponent to have. Moveset wise, we have Haze. Haze pairs nicely with Unaware, especially if I'm going to have to force to swap Quagsire out, maybe on a Volcarona, for example, trying to Quiver Dance up. I can Haze it and then swap into a Pokemon that can potentially take care of it. We have Recover for longevity because we don't have leftovers. I think Rocky Helmet is so important to punish physical attackers that I opted for that over leftovers. Seismic Toss is some decent guaranteed damage, especially on more physically offensive Pokemon. More offensive Pokemon, but especially or physically. They typically don't run HP investments, so Seismic Toss can usually do a good chunk of damage. Usually, it can 4-hit KO almost everything in the game, and that's before things like Toxic Chip or maybe Burn Chip or just Rocky Helmet Chip. So Seismic Toss is quite nice. And finally, we have Encore to lock opponents into trying to set up, for example, Volcarona or Dragonite in their respective dances, or maybe a Pokemon wants to roost in my face infinitely. I could Encore them and force them into that, which is quite good. Next up, we have Suicune, and Suicune's probably simultaneously the coolest and lamest Pokemon on the team. It's cool because, let's be honest, Suicune's a cool Pokemon, and Pressure Stalling is kind of fun, but it's also super lame to fight against, so I completely understand why people get quite angry at Suicune. So, moveset wise, we have Substitute, which is really, really good for blocking things like Leech Seed or statuses, and it's just super important to get your sub up quite fast, so you can start Pressure Stalling your opponent. Ice Beam, much like Manaphy, is important for dealing with dragons and grass types, and things that can eat Scald, for example, any water absorbers in the tier. This thing would be completely walled out if I opted for a rest set. We have Scald, which can potentially spread Burn. It's also Stab. This thing is quite physically defensive, so after a Burn, Pokemon really do struggle to break this thing's Substitute with one hit, meaning we can eat plenty of hits and potentially sub up again, getting leftover recovery and potentially PP stalling my opponent. And finally, Calm Mind to increase my special attack, so this makes my Scald and Ice Beam much more threatening. It turns Suicune into quite an actual threatening presence offensively, while also boosting my special defense, which is already pretty decent, to really high levels to easily eat a lot of special attacks. So stat spread wise, we're max HP, max defense as well. As we can see, it's much more impressive than Quagsire off the bat. Its special defense isn't too bad either, and this is boosted much further with Calm Mind, so if we do get some Calm Minds off, this thing can become really, really hard to break. Next up we have Lantern, and Lantern is going to be one of my best electric checks in the team. Quagsire is pretty good, but a lot of electric Pokemon do run secondary grass coverage like Grass Knot, so Lantern can typically eat those nicely enough. It has a really hefty HP stat of base 125, making this thing quite bulky, and a respectable enough special defense stat. Physically, defensively, it's not the best, but again, it pairs quite nicely with Quagsire, so these two can, these Toxapex and Quagsire are my physically defensive core, while Slowking and Lantern are my specially defensive core, and Suicune's kind of a mixed defensive core. So overall, the team does gel together quite well. Moveset wise, we have Soak, which forces my opponent to become a water type. Why this is so important is it makes my Discharge super effective, or more importantly, allows my Toxic to hit steel types and poison types, which can otherwise wall my team out. For example, Venusaur, maybe Ferrothorn, Celesteela are all Pokemon I don't particularly like. If I can Soak them first, I can potentially Toxic afterwards, which is really, really good. We have Discharge just for some stab, and the chance of paralysis is quite good to help some slower Pokemon like Suicune set up substitutes quicker in their face, and Paralyzing on a pressure turn is really, really good. And finally we have Heal Bell to cure poison, specifically toxics, off things like Slowking, Quagsire, and Suicune who really, really don't like being toxic. That is one of the biggest banes of my team, so having Heal Bell here is really, really important. Ability-wise, we have Volt Absorb, again, super important for eating electric attacks. For things like Tapu Koko, who potentially run Grass Knot, this thing can not necessarily wall it, but take a few hits and pivot around to things like Toxapex or Quagsire. And finally, we have Leftovers for longevity. So that's going to be the team for today. I will post up on the screen here. For some reason, this team is actually the team I climbed highest with on the ladder. I peaked at, I think, number 9. It's been on the screen in front of you. I don't know how, it was kind of completely accidental. I was just testing the team and it did really well, so hopefully today we can do well. The alt is a bit lower than usual I'm starting with, but hopefully we can climb it decently higher, the top 500. So before we start, I want to ask you, what is your favorite water type Pokemon? For me, I think I would have previously said it would have been Totodile. I love Totodile's line, it's probably my favorite starter line in general, and it's a really cute Pokemon, but I think recently it's become Barraskewda. I just really like the funny fish. It goes so crazy in the rain. It's just a really fun Pokemon to use, so yeah, I think I'd have to say it's Barraskewda as my new favorite. And with that, let's pause and jump into some games. So we have a game against a opposing Mono Water. This seems to be a much more offensive build than me. I am quite defensive. I think we value Quagsire a lot for Cloyster. Rotom could be Trick as well, so let's play carefully around that, especially if they open up with it. So they're going to play it for turn 1. I'm just going to try to get my Toxic Spikes down. I feel their heavy duty boots probably defog. Okay, it's definitely not Specs based on that damage. Let's get in my Slowking here. Looking at their team, they really don't like Future Sight at all. Granted, Slowking isn't like terribly strong, but regardless, a free Future Sight and anything coming in is pretty good for me. Rotom Wash comes in. Is this Trick? I feel like it's Trick. I guess I'm okay with this being tricked. Is that Specs damage? That was very strong. Where's it? Slowking, Rotom, Wash. This is 252. Volt Switch. 22 to 27? That's at 38. That's Specs. Yeah, that's a Specs Rotom. Good to know, which means it's almost definitely Trick as well. Quagsire here should live anything that Swampert throws my way. Ooh, the crit Earthquake really hurts. But we should be able to recover in their face. Not necessarily infinitely. Or maybe actually. As long as they don't crit me. We should be able to recover nicely in their face. Honestly, the team doesn't particularly like fighting Swampert. Perfect. They go into Politoed. Is it like Perish Trap? I wonder. What's the least valuable member of my team right now? Strangely enough, I feel like it's Pex. It's Specs Weather Ball. So let's Toxic Spikes here. Oh, it's not Specs. It's just quite strong. Not to worry. We always get Slowking in here. And again, Future Sight, especially now that Pelipper can't defog is free. While I have a Future Sight coming out, Pelipper definitely has to worry here. Perfect. So they're going to defog here this turn, I believe. We'll get some Psyshock chip. Oh, they swap out. I mean, don't mind if I do take damage on Rotom. Now I expect Trip to come out this turn. If I go to Manaphy and they Volt Switch, I lose Manaphy, but I expect Trip to come out. Ooh, they Volt Switched. Great play. And we cling on with 1%. I mean, I'm not going to complain. Oh, did they give me Pelipper? I mean, if you let me keep my Toxic Spikes down, I am more than happy to take this. I definitely did not need to Hydro Vortex there, but I value getting rid of their Defogger. They still have Raid and Politoed, but their Defogger being gone means Swampert, Cloyster, and Barraskewda will all get poisoned now upon contact, which is super good for me. We'll Surf here. Oh, that Shard makes sense. That's a good play. Let's go into Lantern. If I can force them into Swampert, it's actually pretty good for me. Part of me wants to Soak right now. I'm going to Soak. Oh, they Shell Smash. Interesting. Honestly, I thought they'd go into Swampert. That's doing nothing, especially now that Stab is removed. And this will very comfortably be a KO. Swampert is still a bit of an issue. Though again, assuming they don't crit me, I believe I can swap into Quagsire and recover instantly in their face, especially now that they are losing their HP thanks to poison damage. We know Slowking can tank this. And get a Future Sight off, which is really good for me. Okay, here comes the Swampert. It's extremely limited on turns, and I believe Pex can wall out Barraskewda nicely enough, so let's go Quag here. The only thing I particularly have to worry about is Rotom. It's quite bad for my team. We'll recover here. Nice. So Barraskewda and Politoed are both on timers. Granted, they're quite long times to action. My opponent ended up forfeiting, which makes sense. It's a tough position for them to break here. If they do have Psychic Fangs on Barraskewda, I could easily swap into things like Slowking or Quagsire to get the Rocky Helmet chip. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Psychic. This is a pretty cool looking team. I like to see Deoxys being used, but unfortunately I don't like to see Deoxys to fight against because it really, really destroys my team, if I'm being honest. I think we have to open a Manaphy here, which is kind of unfortunate. But if I can potentially get set up early, I might be able to do a lot of damage to their team. Interesting, their Screams. I thought it was Spike Stacking. I think I'd rather deal with Screens, if I'm being honest. Let's set up Z Rain Dance. I value the extra speed. I mean, Slowking can honestly probably wall me out. But +6 in the Rain Surf is still going to do a decent chunk of damage to anything swapping in. And I can potentially outspeed their Scarfers and Tapu Lele, or potentially Victini. If they are Scarf Victini, they have to win a speed type. I'm actually not sure if this kills. +6 in Rain? Maybe? Yes, it does. Okay, nice. That's a pretty big threat taken care of. And honestly, I'm very happy it's not Spike Stacking Deoxys. This should die too, I think. And they're running out of screen turns. Honestly, I think Slowking might have been their best play. I don't think Necrozma lives. Manaphy going kind of crazy, and they actually end up forfeiting. So, again, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Fairy. This is a very threatening game. Things like Tapu Lele and Tapu Bulu are pretty big threats to me, as well as potentially Azumarill. We're going to try open up Apex and just try and get down Toxic Spikes early, because Toxic Spikes are very good against my opponents. Woodhammer does a hefty chunk of damage. Now the question is, do I value Pax Alive? Well, I probably do. But I can do a lot of recoil damage with something like Suicune. Is it worth sacking my Suicune? I feel it doesn't have too much of a role, so yeah, I'll sack Suicune. We can get good recoil damage with Woodhammer. Nice. And that potentially puts us in range of a Ice Beam Manaphy, which is quite good for me. They go to Klefki. I don't think Klefki can do too much against me. If they try and T-Wave me, that's not the worst, because I can simply click Z Rain Dance here, which will cure me, thanks to hydration. Excellent. Can Mimikyu win a KO me? I feel like no is the answer. Oh, it's red cards. That is a really good play. So I'm going to soak them here. That's really good, and that actually really messes up my Manaphy. Let's go Quag. Quag easily lives. That crit did 20, that did so little. We're just going to recover. Okay. Ooh, nice. Nice double into the Tapu Bulu. I'm going to go ahead and assume they go for a Horn Leech here. So let's go into Pex. Can Pex live too? No, because that is banded. Ah, that's really bad for me. They're going to drain way too much here. How much does my Manaphy do? Tapu Bulu. We'll call it Sword Dance. Ice Beam does 60 to 71. Interesting. Do I value Pex? I mean, I feel like not anymore, so I'll let it die. Ah, this is a roll that it's in my favor, but I'm not a big fan of it. We have to go for it nonetheless. Nice, okay. They give me Bulu, which is probably the biggest threat to my team. Tapu Lele is also a big threat, but Slowking should be able to tank it quite nicely. Especially now we get a future sight up here. Is it like Z Belly Drum? Quag should live. Knockoff is a good play there. I'll recover once. I feel like I just valued damage off on this, if I'm being honest. I feel I always swap into Lele and Diancie with Slowking, and I always swap into Azumarill and Mimikyu with Quagsire. So this is most likely Mega. That Seismic Toss did so much damage. In Fear, they're going to go straight for... I feel they're going to go straight for a Diamond Storm. We'll Scout with Slowking. Even if they Diamond Storm, I can then go into Lantern and get my regen recovery. And if they don't Diamond Storm, there's no point. I definitely should have played to rescue Bulu. GG. My opponent is forfeiting. I don't blame them. They played really well, but risking Bulu unfortunately lost them the game. So with that, let's pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Dragon. The thing I like about this Dragon team is they're not running Dragalge, which means my Toxic Spikes are pretty good. They might open up a Garchomp, so I'm going to open up a Suicune, even though Suicune is really good in this game. Honestly, so is Manaphy. But yeah, Garchomp is such a big threat. I can't afford to be running around. Poison Jab. Ah, they poisoned. That really sucks for me. That didn't die? Wow. That is bulky. Will I see him one more time? Now, unfortunately, that does make my Suicune a lot worse. We can obviously heal Bell up with Lantern later in the game. But Kyurem, ooh. Oh boy, is Kyurem a threat. We're gonna go Quag here. Agility? Interesting. I mean, Quag walls us out nicely enough. I'm trying to think, is there any way I reasonably beat Specs Kyurem? And I think the answer is no. There isn't really. Ice Beam? And the crit as well. If we Toxic this, we could potentially whittle it down. With the likes of Slowking. Are they not Freeze Dry? I mean, honestly, it's crazy not to be Freeze Dry. Freeze Dry Kyurem is insanely good in my opinion for taking care of things like Pex, Mantine, Kingdra, just a whole litany of Pokemon. I don't think this can do too much to me. And in fact, this could be my opportunity to set up Toxic Spikes here. That is relatively strong. If we can get one there down, it's really good. And it begs the question, do I even value Pex much in this game? I don't think I honestly do. I value Slowking for Lati and Gudra and Kyurem, but for Salamence and Dragonite, I feel like Quagsire is the play. Okay, is this trick? Let's sack Suicune to check. Oh no. I did not want to see Mega. That is definitely not what I wanted to see. I want to try Toxic this. Toxicing this is excellent for me. Yes, it lands. Perfect. This potentially lets my my Slowking here do really good work. Because again, we can Future Sight. Regardless of what they throw out, especially if they go for another T-Bolt here, it would be excellent to get Lantern back some HP. Yes, you love to see it. And just in case they swap out, I'm going to Soak. And the reason for that is I can remove Stab on something like Kyurem. Also potentially opening up Discharges. Salamence comes out. I'll Toxic you. It's Moxie. Not ideal, but again, Quagsire should be able to live. Yeah, quite nicely. I'm gonna just toss. Is there much Dragonite can do to me? I mean, Dragon Claw does a decent chunk. But if they're not Roost, it's very bad. Excellent. So all I particularly have to worry about now is the likes of Kyurem. I think we always go Slowking here. It's honestly crazy to me they're not Future Sight. I mean, sorry, Freeze Dry. It's such a fantastic move on Kyurem. Will Psyshock. Just get a bit of chip. I'm pretty comfortable staying for one more Psyshock. It should kill between that, Toxic, and Future Sight. Kyurem is dead now. And if they go into Salamence, we always have Quagsire. Though unfortunately, I don't do the most damage to it. Is it stupid? I feel I should pivot in through Toxapex. Just in case they like Outrage or something. Okay, that's fine. Did 25 last time. So the reason I pivoted in through Pex, if they like crit Outrage me, for example, I could have potentially lost my Quagsire. And if I pivot in through Toxapex, not only do I get the recovery from Regen, I also, if they get the Moxie boost, it does not matter, because I'm unaware Quagsire. Okay, Gudra comes back in. We value Quagsire so much because I'm pretty sure it infinitely walls. Poor Salamence. Surf. Oh no. Down bad if they have to use Surf. Okay. They managed to poison me. It doesn't matter too much. because the future sight comes out here, which means you can go into Quagsire, and we win the game. GG. Ooh, that lovely Rocky Helmet chip. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. We have a game here against Mono Normal, and this team looks super threatening. I have a feeling that might be Choice Band Diggersby, so we're going to try open up with Suicune here, assuming they lead Diggersby, which they do. A Scald Burn here would be particularly excellent, as they go to Pidgeot. Interesting. I have a weird feeling in the back of my mind. This is Toxic Pidgeot. I don't know why I feel that, but I do. Let's go Lantern. Yes, I was right. We're going to double here into Pex, just because I value having my Toxic Spikes down, as they go into Diggersby. Great name, by the way. That's very funny. This is bad. This is real bad. I guess we could potentially sack my Lantern. Yeah, let's sack Lantern here. And we'll go into Suicune. I'll try sub once, as they go into Pidgeot. Pretty okay for me, because here we can Calm Mind. Now Hurricane's obviously going to break it, but we can Ice Beam here to kill Pidgeot. As long as I keep my Manaphy healthy, we should be able to revenge KO Diggersby. Snorlax comes in. I think this is double-edged Snorlax. The burn there is quite nice. I think I'll keep Suicune alive for Diggersby. We'll go Quag. And then double into Pex again, as they go to Ditto. Now, they can get Toxic Spikes down here, but so can I, which is really good. I really value Porygon 2, Meloetta, and Diggersby being toxic, like, a lot. I guess Quagsire is expendable. Oh, wow, I'm surprised it did that little damage. We'll go Manaphy. I'm going to Hydro Vortex here, just because this thing is such a massive threat. Oh, it's Sash. Interesting. We thankfully just about live Quick Attack. And having T-Spikes down here is very nice for me. We'll go Slowking. Yeah, this is a threat. We'll Foul Play. It's super effective, though it probably doesn't do too much. 20% is not great. Wait a minute. I recognize this set. It's like Rest, I think. Rest Snore? I believe it is. So we'll sack Manaphy here. Yeah, it's Rest Snore. That's pretty rough for me. It's Rest Snore Thunder, I think. Ah. This is not ideal. Because they can just snore all they want here. Yeah, into Thunder. GG. I guess if I can force them... No. I'd need my Lantern alive to wall this out. So if I could force them into resting and be on full HP, I could potentially wall them out infinitely with Lantern, because Thunder doesn't affect me and they can't rest anymore to snore. So well played on my opponent's part. Very cool team. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have another game against Mono Bug. This looks like a pretty good team. I do think Oraquin is surprisingly threatening, especially Galvantula. We're going to try open the Pex here, though it might be very bad against Galvantula. They open a Fortress. Okay. I mean, if we can Scald them, especially if we can Scald Burn, potentially putting them in range of Rocky Helmet KOing. Oh, their spikes. Not good, not good, not good. So here's what I want to do. I want to Scald one last time. I hope it doesn't burn. Of course now it burns. And why that sucks is I wanted to T-Spikes here. Okay, they didn't actually Rapid Spin, so I can still potentially pull this off. I wanted to T-Spikes, and on the turn they try and Rapid Spin away. I go into Quagsire and make them take Rocky Helmet Chip, which actually prevents them from removing hazards, because if you feint the turn to recoil that you Rapid Spin to like Iron Barbs, Rocky Helmet, etc., you don't actually remove the hazards, which is kind of strange, but that's the interaction. That's how it works. Now, unfortunately, I still value Quagsire so much in this game against so much of their team. They're going to Caesar. Okay. I mean, we'll try Skullburn this. I definitely still value my Quagsire. Come on, Skullburn. You know you want to Pex. Now, the problem with spike stacking is my team really hates spike stacking, as it really reduces how much I can regen back. In fact, I think it actually, we take more damage from the spikes and stealth rocks than we regen back. So unfortunately they do slowly whittle me down. Burn. Nice. We'll recover here. And just try knock. I mean, honestly, their team really doesn't like Pex, which I'm okay with. Granted, Volcarona is a bit of a threat. What we're going to try to do here is get in Suicune. Obviously, we take a lot of damage. Preferably, we don't burn here. Don't burn. Nice. And try sub up. Excellent. This is really good for me, because now we can Calm Mind. And what Calm Minding does is potentially lets me kill Volcarona, which is a big threat to my team. Thankfully, we'll be able to eat most of these, but I have to KO here. Liquidation's probably going to break my sub, and they're going to die to poison recoil. And the last thing I want to do is have my sub broken. It's pretty bad for me. I mean, I'll take Fortress off your hands. If you gotta remove your only option to removing hazards, I'll take it. Especially if it's not Heavy Duty Boots Volcarona. We'll sub once here. Thunder Punch. Okay. Thank you for letting me scout. In fact, we're going to Scald just in case they Earthquake. I feel like they surely know I'm going to Lantern here. We'll risk it. If they Thunder Punch, I'll eat that up and be near full HP, which is very good. We're going to save Suicune for a sec. Let's go Quag. Nice. That's a lot of damage. Ooh, they're Roost. Interesting. Not the end of the world for me. Not ideal. Wait, I'm unaware. You can boost up all you want. I will happily Seismic Toss you for days. My Seismic Toss is way more PP than your Roosts. And the burn is going to passively kill them regardless. In fact, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to Encore here onto the Roost. Force them to use PP, or force them to swap out. Either way, I quite value the interaction. If they go into Volcarona, I can potentially force them into a Quiver Dance with Encore. And then go into my Manaphy and kill with potentially Hydro Vortex. And they're not going to be able to do too much damage back to me. Unfortunately, they did knock my Rocky Helm, which sucks. But they're very quickly wasting PP on Roost. In fact, Volcarona might not even be able to KO me. Yeah, it's going to do nothing. In fact, we'll Encore here again. Their best bet against me is potentially Galvantula, which all things said, he's honestly a big threat to me. So I definitely have to play carefully around that. You are very quickly running out of encores. Which is fine by me. They're probably Giga Drain Galvantula. I don't have much of an answer to that outside maybe Slowking. And even then, that's kind of rough. If it is Giga Drain Volk, it's bad for me. There's no two ways about it, it's bad for me. But I have a feeling it might be like Savage Spin out on this team. It's hard to say. I'm not sure what their endgame here with Caesar is. Okay, we'll Encore. Encore and knockoff is fun too. I feel they should sack Caesar. I really don't think Caesar is that good in the endgame for them. I just don't see what it brings to the table, especially Burnt. I'm worried about Volcarona. This entire game plan could be for nothing. Okay, we'll just kill. If they go into Volk, I Encore. If they go into Galvantula, I always sack Suicune and scout their intentions. Energy Ball, good to know. That's what I figured was coming out. And I feel like Slowking, it should even Little Thunder, to be honest. They end up missing anyway, so hey, we'll take those. We take those. Now, unfortunately, here comes the big threat. The big threat. Is it Giga Drain? If it's Giga Drain, it's potentially game over for me. But a Toxic here is very good. Hidden Power. Hidden Power Ground? For Heatran? I think. Okay. I wonder can we just live by just spamming, like, Recover? Does Buzz kill? I feel like no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, it does a lot of damage. Let's go Pex here. We'll live a Buzz. And any bit of chip here is super important. Yeah, they lose unless they're Roost. And I'm pretty sure they're not. We'll go Slowking here. On Hidden Power Ground. And in case the off chance they are Roost, we'll just Side Shock here to put pressure on GG. So that was a pretty tough game. Thank you. You too. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So that is going to be it from Mono Water for today. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sticking by, and congratulations for managing to sit through that long of a stall water team. So overall, I think I did pretty well. I definitely was missing some key components of other stall water teams, like Mantine you see a lot. Vaporeon is popular enough too, so there's just so many good options for stall water. I wanted to try something somewhat different and not entirely stall. I did want an offensive Ankyr and something like Manaphy, which is a really fun Pokemon to use in the NatDex. So if you did enjoy this, leaving a like, a comment, subscribe, sharing this with a friend, all that kind of stuff, it helps me out so much as a small creator. I truly do appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed, and it's completely free for you to do, so definitely feel free to do that if you so choose. I do really appreciate that. Hopefully I'll be back next week with another type. I'm already working on what type it's going to be, so hopefully I can get the video recorded in the meantime. It's a type I realized I've never ever played it on the NatDex before, so it's completely fresh to me. I had to make the count yesterday, and I'm going to have to ladder it up a bit and kind of test some teams, so really looking forward to that, and I hope to catch you next time, everyone. Take care and have a great day.